Matthew de Gruchy is an 18-year-old teenager who lives in a little town called Albion Park Rail, just south of Sydney in Australia. He lives here with his mother Jenny, dad Wayne, younger brother Adrian and little sister Sarah. In March of 1996, Matthew's life is about to change forever. Coming home early after staying the night at his girlfriend's, the family house is quiet. His mother should be up by now making breakfast for his younger siblings. But all is still. In approximately 5 minutes, Matthew will come running out of the house, screaming, and is inconsolable. A neighbour will tell police when he asks him what was wrong, he tells him something was wrong with his mum and sister. The neighbour ran in case they needed medical help and will be met with the most horrific scene. There is blood everywhere, and it is evident that Jenny and Sarah are no longer alive. Police, paramedics and homicide detectives will search the property and find that Adrian has come to his death in the garden shed. The 3 victims were so disfigured, pathologists would later say they looked like victims of a plane crash. Jenny had been beaten so badly that her brain was forced outside of the head. She was found in her bedroom on top of blood-soaked bed sheets, and a pillow had been held over her head. Sarah had been found in her bedroom, in her bed. She had also suffered facial and head injuries. Her Walkman and headphones were found beside her. It is thought that she didn't hear what was happening in her mother's room. She has defensive wounds on her hands and arms. She had clearly tried to fend off her attacker. She too had a pillow held over her head. Adrian had been in the shed doing some woodwork. He had been struck from behind. Some of his teeth were found on the shed floor, and blood is all over the ceiling. He has been doused in petrol and was clutching blood-soaked hair, thought at first to be the perpetrators, but later found to belong to Jenny and Sarah, and must have been transferred from the weapon. Pathologists believe the weapon used could be a car jack, a sledgehammer, or a wheel brace, and that the murders occurred between the hours of 8 p.m. and 1 a.m. A piece of carpet has been cut from the floor of Jenny's room and removed. Fibres from the same carpet are found in Jenny's car, behind the seats, and the wheel brace is missing. The gruesome scene leaves police officers traumatised, and one of them never returned to work again. Homicide investigator at the time, Belinda Neal, said it was the worst homicide she had ever seen in her 4-year career, and that call was her first day on the job. She took early retirement due to this case, and even wrote a book about it called Under Siege. Police look into Jenny's husband Wayne. He is their first suspect, but cleared as he was away in Sydney working at the time. They thought maybe it was a robbery gone wrong, but nothing of real value was taken, and the killing's too horrendous to be just a robbery. They turn their attention back to Matthew, and he's brought in for questioning. Matthew will say he only went into his mother's room. This is the first red flag, as the neighbour has told police he clearly remembers Matthew saying something was wrong with his mum and sister, and he distinctly remembers thinking he might need to get them both medical help. On the day, Matthew was able to quickly tell police what was missing from the house, including a video recorder, even though he had only been in the house a few minutes before he came running out screaming. His girlfriend will be questioned and says On the night he stayed, he was late, arriving at her house around 11 p.m, when he was meant to be there at 8 p.m. When they asked her why he was late, she said that he told her a stranger had been coming by the house and that they had been receiving weird phone calls, that he thought this person was going to kill his entire family. His mum had asked him to stay longer as she was scared. This puts Gruchy firmly at the crime scene at the time of the murders taking place. Checking the house phone records, no unidentified calls are found. Inconsistencies are piling up around Matthew Gruchy. A break in the case comes in the form of a rucksack found by a group of teenagers in a dam near Gruchy's girlfriend's house. Inside was a piece of carpet removed from Jenny's bedroom, which is found to have Gruchy's blood on it, a video recorder, and a note that has been ripped up. The boys who found the rucksack said there had been a hammer as well, but they didn't hand that in. Instead, they messed around with it for a while and lost it. The hammer was never found. When forensics put the note back together, it turns out to be a to-do list, and it's in Gruchy's handwriting. Reading in part: open blinds to see Sarah, Mum, Adrian. Hit arm with pole, hit leg with pole, and cut somewhere with knife. Forensics also find tiny drops of blood on the carpet beside Jenny's bed, which are found to belong to Matthew. 3 months after the crime, Matthew Gruchy is arrested and charged with 3 counts of murder. Police have mostly circumstantial evidence, but when put together, it tells a story. The rucksack with the video recorder and note with the names of the victims in Gruchy's handwriting. The piece of carpet he had cut out as he knew his blood had dripped on it. The drops of blood they found belonging to Gruchy beside Jenny's bed. The same carpet found in the rucksack that was found near his girlfriend's house. And him being late, saying he had to stay to help his mother as she was afraid, placing him there at the time the police believe the murders took place. The only motive police could find was that Gruchy and his mother had been fighting recently over him constantly using her car and racking up the mileage. Could this truly be the reason for such brutality? On October the 14th, 1998, the jury found Matthew Gruchy guilty of 3 counts of murder with a maximum of only 28 years before being considered for parole. In 2019, after serving 23 years, Gruchy is granted parole. The New South Wales government were opposed to his parole as to the seriousness of the crime and the inappropriateness of his proposed accommodation with his father Wayne. But the parole board found he had done everything asked of him in prison, had only 2 small misdemeanours on his 23-year record, and had been a model prisoner, obtaining trade qualifications, a forklift licence and a learner driver's licence. He also has a tax file number, a bank account, his birth certificate, a Medicare card and a photo ID. It is a conditional parole release. He is not allowed to contact his family members apart from his dad, is not allowed in Illawarra or Shoalhaven local government areas, and must participate in psychological counselling until the 28 years of his original sentence is over in 2024. Gruchy's uncle Ray Halliwell, Jenny's brother, said at the time before his release, "The family feel 3 lives were taken, and Gruchy should have been sentenced to 3 life terms and should never be released."